Good evening, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, joined by Josh Bowe. We are editors at MavsMoneyball.com. Josh, how are you?
I'm pretty good. That was a pretty awesome game to watch, even if you're a neutral observer. But I'm sure Mavs fans are pretty happy. The Mavericks they've broken the curse. The Jason Kidd game one curse is over.
Well, it's
Not to talk about it anymore.
It's really not even Kidd, though. It goes back to they'd only won one game one since the 2011 title run. So
That's crazy.
It's
also haven't really been in the playoffs a lot.
Right. Well, that's part of it. You're always playing on the road, and getting road games is tough. And the one that they did get was in 2021 against the Clippers, where they took a 2-0 series lead. Dude, 108-105 victory. And, you're not as vocal about this unless you're really, really right. This is one of these games where if you listened to our series preview and you listened to Josh and I sort of laud the Timberwolves with a healthy amount of respect, only to close with Josh issuing the prediction of a gentleman's sweep, this game really took all of the elements that we talked about and wrapped it into one. And here's the crazy part, though, guys. The things that Minnesota did well in this series were some of the more outliery things. I was absolutely astounded by the Dallas Mavericks defense. Look, if you don't believe in the Dallas Mavericks defense now, the only time you're going to believe it is if they win a championship. Sorry, they shut the Wolves down. The Wolves hit 12 more threes than the Mavericks, and the Mavericks won the game. That should not be possible.
Wolves shot 36% in the second half, 29% from three. They took 24 threes in the second half, which is pretty funny. But yeah, that's what the Mavericks do, right? They wall off the paint. They dare you to shoot. They dare bad shooters to shoot. If you look at the shot attempts, You'll notice a little bit of a trend on who took a lot of threes. It burned the Mavs a little bit in the first half. They tightened some things up and came out in the second half and kind of just stayed true to who they are. They walled off the paint. Minnesota didn't score at the rim. Mavericks had a 62-38 points in the paint advantage, and they won this game behind some brilliant star shot making in the first and second halves, and then they never deviated from who they are. Like, this is their team. They are a defensive team, which is very weird to say if you've been watching the Luka era Mavericks closely since Luka's been drafted. And they're a team that just doesn't give up the rim, and they don't care what happens outside of the three-point line. They're not going to abandon what they do well, which is guarding the rim and walling off the paint and not giving up easy baskets. Because the Wolves kept shooting threes. It's not like the Mavericks ran them off the line particularly well in the second half. They kept shooting threes. They definitely had some open ones, but they played the percentages. They contested a little bit better. I think the first half they were maybe a little too eager to give up some of those threes, even though their scheme kind of already pre-built.
Are we really going to do the they thing?
Yeah, no, I know.
There's one person in particular who was willing to give up the open threes, and he knew it by the end of the game. And Luka Doncic, who played better three-point defense in the second half, quite candidly.
Yeah, for sure. That was the major adjustment. He moved a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, that's the Wolves, like 62-38 points in the paint advantage. Like that against this Wolves team with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and all these long, huge bodies. Like, the Mavericks absolutely dominated the paint, and they won the game because the Wolves couldn't make enough threes to force the Mavericks out of their comfort zone. Like, the Mavericks, even in the first half, like when the Mavericks were struggling a little bit, it never felt like the Wolves were doing something that was going to cause the Mavericks big trouble. Like, it was more just, are the Wolves going to be able to keep making these shots to win the game? And the answer was no. And obviously there's more to it than that. We'll get into it, but I just thought this was a perfect game. If like you said, if you don't think the Mavericks have a good defense after the first two series, you're never gonna believe. But if you're just an alien that landed on planet Earth and wanted a good example of like this Mavericks defense, I think this game is a perfect example because of what happened in the first half. They didn't overcorrect to the Wolves 3-point shot making. They stayed true to what they want to do, and they won the game.
So the first quarter was really something where Jaden McDaniels comes out and buries, I think he hit 3 or 4 threes in the first quarter. And it
3
was
in the first quarter.
And really in the first like 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Where it really felt like, okay, it's just going to be one of those games. And the 3-point shooting continued, only something special happened, something we haven't seen the entire postseason, and really, quite candidly, the entirety of the 2023-24 season, which was Kyrie Irving attacked the Timberwolves like an absolute madman. He scored 13 points in the quarter, had the ball on a string, and made the Wolves defense look really pathetic. He got the paint scoring going for the Mavericks. Luka made some baskets too, and it was kind of off to the races for Kyrie. And it was just a really special first quarter, which ended up being a pretty special first half. Where, despite some there are turnover lapses. Like if the Mavericks get their goofy turnovers under control in this series, they're going to beat the Wolves by 30 points one game. I just firmly believe that.
That's tough though, because the Wolves are one of probably the best team to turn over. Like they force turnovers.
They're good at it, right?
Yeah, so
they're good at it. And so the second quarter comes around, and the Mavericks hang around, and continue to take really body blows from the Timberwolves. That was a pretty fun quarter. I was sort of running around my house at that point, and there was a really key play at the very end of the half where Anthony Edwards was sizing up, going for the last shot, and sails a cross-court pass that goes out of bounds with 5 seconds to go. The Mavericks inbound the ball. PJ gets it to Kyrie Irving, who takes just like a little hezzy at the 3-point line, gets past Jaden McDaniels, and hits like a 15-foot runner for an and one. And the Wolves were leading the Mavericks by 3 points at half, despite hitting 14 3-pointers. And if you're watching this game and you've been watching the playoffs to date, you're waiting for the Mavericks haymaker to come. The third quarter rolls around, and the Mavericks never really delivered that haymaker, but just kept steadily attacking, and the Wolves would hit some threes. It was a little bit of a frustrating third, where man of the people in every way, shape, and form, Josh Green played one of the dumbest 3-minute stretches I've seen from him. Jason Kidd playing him and Hardy together is just a real chef's kiss of like coaching. I'm going to see what I can do here.
I wanted to know what your blood pressure was.
Well, Green hit a corner 3 from a really nifty Hardy pass on a drive and transition, but then he blew what was probably Luka's second best pass of the postseason on that like 60-foot bounce pass.
One of the best passes of his life.
And I'm sorry, like Josh Green blew the dunk way more than it was defended. Like it's just like finish the dunk, buddy. And then the Mavericks had at least 2 more turnovers to end the third. So you leave the third quarter, the Mavericks, and it really feels like the Mavericks left a little meat on the bone. The fourth quarter came into play, and Luka Doncic did something we've not really seen him do much this postseason, where he went on a personal 7-0 run to bring the Mavericks back within one, or to retake the lead after the Mavericks had fallen behind by 5. And the Mavericks bounced back and forth with the lead in the fourth, and Luka scored a few more times, a really interesting kind of 50-50 basket interference call. The Mavericks are lucky they got away with that one. Luka, please stop ball watching and put a body on Cat. He did that, I think, 2 or 3 times this game where he was attacking the rim. And the Mavericks walked away with the lead, a 108-105 win, despite Josh Green trying to make it unnecessarily tense with a foul up 4 on a 3-point shot with no time remaining. I really am just feeling so bullish about this game because, as you heard during my recap there, the Mavericks made some like really stupid decisions and still won the game. And whereas the Wolves, I thought, look haggard, they did play a 7-game series, hit a ton of threes.
Isn't there a stat like teams coming off of game 7 in the game, if they win in game 1, like
Matt Moore of the
They
Action
don't play
Network
well.
gave me a really good betting stat. I don't know if it was a win or a spread based thing, but
Okay.
it was like it was
Don't bet
like
against
close.
don't bet for the team in game 1 if they've won
Yeah, I
game
think
7.
that was it more than anything. He'll probably correct me. He might be listening to this just because there's nobody else playing. So shout out to Matt if he is listening. I'll check my DMs just to see if he'll send me anything. So yeah, I don't know, man. I was really enthused about this game because if we would have come in here with the loss, the first things I think we would have talked about was the Mavericks did everything right and they got beat on a hot shooting night. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, there's a little bit of, because I was pretty adamant last series against Oklahoma City that, yeah, there was some shooting variance in play, but also that's kind of how the Mavericks defense plays. And I tried to argue that series the Mavericks won was more than just shooting variance. So then to come in here and be like, it was all shooting variance would be kind of, it would be kind of shitty on my part. So I'm going to try to back what I'm seeing. And I think what happened was the first half was. So I wrote this. I wrote this on Twitter at halftime. I'm trying not to look at my phone a lot during these games. So
Sure.
I haven't tweeted a lot during these games, but I noticed, and we talked about it in our Slack, like it was very obvious that the coaching staff told Luka, "Hey, don't guard your man because we're going to put you on Jaden McDaniels, or we're going to put you on Kyle Anderson, who played 17 minutes, or Nikhil Alexander-Walker." And they told him. I mean, it's pretty clear. They flat out told him, "Don't guard your man. Like we don't care if those guys get up shots. Save your energy for the offensive end." And Luka, I'm assuming that's what the coaches told him. Because if they did, Luka took that to heart because he was not moving in the first half on defense. And Anderson and McDaniels had some of the most practice quality jumpers I've ever seen in my life. And Anderson only made 1 3. Like he was hitting, like, I'm sorry, he's an NBA player, perimeter player. He's going to hit open free throw distance jumpers if you're just not going to stand near him,
Somebody had a tweet during the game that said, Kyle Anderson's jumper looks like it needs 2-factor authentication,
yeah.
Which was, I mean, it's just so slow. It was really something.
And the fact that it was so slow and they still didn't even try to contest just makes me feel like it was so deliberate in the game plan to just let them shoot. Don't worry about it. And obviously on paper that makes sense because those guys were not shooting the ball well in the playoffs. There's a middle ground. Like there's a limit to this because with Luka not moving on defense, it's not just that he was giving up, wide open shots because whatever, if those guys miss those shots, then you call it a genius game plan. But there was a trickle down effect where like if you play basketball, you know how this goes. Once you stop, and this is especially true for me because I've always been a bigger guy and I've never been particularly in shape. Once you stop, it's hard to get going again. Mm-hmm. Acceleration isn't easy. And obviously these are the best athletes in the world. So like it's easy for them. But like just in general, like Luka was at a standstill and it felt like it just disengaged him from the entire defensive possession, not just who his man was guarding. Like he wasn't rotating as well. He wasn't rebounding at all. Like he had 1 rebound in the first half. And I truly believe it's because he was just kind of standing around, not guarding his guy. It's hard to go grab a rebound, like go from 0 to 100. Like if you're not already kind of moving around and engaged in the defensive play, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, now I got to go put a body on someone and go box out. Like when you're just kind of standing with low energy off the ball. So I feel like that it was just too extreme. And I think in the second half, message was received. Either Luka realized it, coaches talked to him because
have some respect.
Yeah, he had 7 rebounds in the second half. He was moving a lot more. McDaniels was still allowed to shoot and was still open, but there was just a better effort on contesting once he committed to the shot, which I think is that middle ground you have to find. So that was the big second half adjustment for me because that moves it beyond just like, hey, this is shooting variance, because I do think something changed from the first half to the second half and it made a difference.
Real nice. I'm pleased. I got a message from one of our longtime listeners. Who is it here? It's just one of our longtime listeners. I don't want to read his name, but he said, I haven't been this happy in a long time. And that's how I feel as well. Just a really pleasing experience here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break here. Please consider subscribing and liking our show while you're watching the show live here on the YouTubes. For those of you who may not know, we do a secondary post show right after this one. Josh hops off and goes and edits Mavs Moneyball. I continue to talk out into the void because we like talking basketball here at Pod Maverick. And then following this short break, we'll get back at some content. But if you're listening on an audio stream and it's either late here on Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, please consider giving our show a review, 5 stars. Very much appreciate that sort of thing. Anybody watching on the video later, leave a comment. Really appreciate those comments. All right, now I'm going to insert some ads. One day I'll get better at this. Okay, before we head back in to the fold, I want to read off some super comments and notes from various people who are very generous and shooting our show a tip. Shout out to Stephen Long. Really appreciate you, Stephen. Didn't leave a comment, but issued a super sticker here on YouTube. Wade Lamb says, can't even watch when Kirk wears sleeves now. Well, don't worry. If the Mavericks win the championship, I will podcast shirtless, guys. We all have that to be excited about. JM3245 says, thank you for starting the show before midnight Eastern. Hey, man, we're pretty excited about that, too. Jonathan says, let's go. Really appreciate you, Jonathan. Big shout out to Calvin Simmons saying, love the show, gents. The fact that the Wolves shot the 3 like that and lost has to be demoralizing. Absolutely. DTL72 says a plus 19 for Derek Lively. I'm assuming that's why he left a $19 tip. Shout out to you, my friend. Thanks so much. Our friend Henry left us another tip. Appreciate you, my guy. Minnesota was plus 36 from deep, and we still won. Mavs in 5. This is the Kyrie I foretold about when he's entered the avatar state. Hashtag the last airbender. And a quick shout out to Timothy Clark. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. Josh and I very much appreciate these sorts of things. It's very helpful. Someone wondering what shirt I am wearing. I'm wearing my famed Deshaun Stevenson 3-point.
That's the go-to. That's the go-to victory shirt.
Yeah, really. That and the He Has Risen shirt, which people seem to be really excited about. One last thing before we go back to show. Shout out to the you'll love this, Josh. I don't think I mentioned this in the Slack. Shout out to the woman I met tonight at my son's basketball practice, who is a Pod Maverick listener. So that's right. There is at least one woman on planet Earth who listens to Pod Maverick. Really appreciate all the support, and I love it when people actually say hi to me in public. It's only the second time that's ever happened. The other time was at a PTA meeting. All right, what else should we talk about, my man?
Derek Lively? Or do we need to go to the Lucas clutch fourth quarter? I think one of those have got to be one.
Let's talk about Lively for a second, because I've been thinking long and hard. I talked about it. Twitter talked about it in the pre-show. Derek Lively was welcomed to the NBA in his first preseason game by Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. He did not necessarily, he didn't look out of place, but they dominated him. And for him to do this in a playoff game, he continues to surprise me. I love him.
I don't know. He's 20, and we did this with Luka when he was 20. But what does he look like in 5 years when he's 25 and he's still not even physically peaked? Like, I'm trying not to put the cart out of the course because we got to talk about his game, but like, I'm just kind of running out of superlatives to talk about this guy. Like,
well, he's not doing any of the stuff I think he'll be doing on offense at one point, because one of the big selling points for him as a draft guy was that he could shoot the ball. The Mavericks don't have him shoot the ball at all. He is a release valve. He made a really nice move where he caught the ball on a trap from the 3-point line, drove left-handed and finished left-handed across the lane. Do you remember which one I'm talking about?
Yes, in the first, it's like a Euro step, right?
That's a fucking move, man.
He's got skills.
Like big guys, it's just more and more big guys do this stuff, but you don't really see it that often.
You don't see it from his archetype of big guy. Like, he wasn't doing this in college. Like, he wasn't. Like, you would see clips, like workouts and stuff, leading into the draft. But how many guys have we seen that look awesome in workout clips? Like, we saw Mo Bamba do stuff like that in workout clips. To do it on the road, game 1, conference finals against the best team defense in the NBA. It's just wild. 3 assists, 1 turnover. 2 blocks, 9 points, 11 rebounds. Team high plus 19, and I know it's single game plus minus, but he earned every bit of that team high plus 19. The game changed whenever he stepped on the floor. I don't think it's a coincidence that Gafford came in the fourth quarter. The Wolves immediately came back and took a lead after the Mavericks had their own, I think, 9-0 run to take their own lead. And then the Wolves stormed right back. Timeout, Lively on the floor. I think Mavericks took the lead shortly after that and then never gave it up. Like, he stymied the paint. Rudy Gobert was 4 of 8 from the floor, which, 50%, but considering those are all like layups, like that's it's really good. Karl Anthony Towns was 6 of 20. Missed 7 threes, so that's not all Lively, but there's definitely some missed shots near the rim. He's the connector. Like he's the glue. He's what makes all this work. He is how you have a team with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic as your 2 best players. Like, this is how you build a conference finalist around those 2 guys. Because yes, they do give pretty solid defensive effort, and they have in these playoffs. And Luka definitely did in the fourth quarter. And Irving, I think, was pretty good, solid consistently throughout the game on defense. But like, you don't build a contender with those 2 types of stars unless you have a player like Derek Lively. And for him to be that at age 20 and not 24 or 25 or 27 or 28, it's unbelievable. I've never seen a rookie big man at 20 influence high leverage playoff games like this guy. Like, I think Steven Adams was the last guy I can remember, but he was not doing this when he was a rookie in the playoffs. He was absolutely not doing this.
And so you very firmly went gentleman's sweep last night, Mavs in 5. My main hesitation was the Lively on Gafford stuff, because I have a deep level of respect for a multi-time defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert. But you just see the limitations when you have skilled offensive players of what drop coverage is. It's why Lively and very shortly Wemby are going to be so terrifying the longer these guys play, because they're athletic enough both vertically and laterally. And,
laterally is so important.
It's just so important. And because they're not going to get, like, they don't get driven past. I mean, there were 2 times that I remember where Lively was perfectly fine with the switch on Ant.
Mm-hmm.
On Ant.
Yep. At the 3-point line. According
to the ringer.com, the second best under 25 player in the NBA.
I was waiting for it.
So what do we have here? I'm really, really interested. There's just so much more to unlock. And let me just admit, what do you call it? Intrusive thought? My intrusive thought the past week has been, the Dallas Mavericks have to do this now. They have to win now, because the Thunder are going to get better. Anthony Edwards is going to get better. Kyrie's going to get older.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Luka Doncic is going to get better. Derek Lively is going to get better. So that intrusive thought, I might need to excise that from my doubts, because damn, man, like I was exchanging messages with my high school basketball coach tonight. Shout out Brad Chastain. He'll never listen to this. And I really think the Mavericks, like, they might just continue to punch. I hope they come out in game 2 and just wallop the Wolves, because I have gone from being like, I still have a respect for the Wolves, but I do not see what adjustment they make.
I don't want to give it away. Like, I don't want Chris Finch to steal my ideas here, but I thought 2 things. They could probably post up Cat a little bit more against PJ. I thought that was when the Wolves had the most success, when Cat used his size.
Yeah.
Inside. True. There were a couple I thought in the first quarter he was driving very well and getting past PJ. Not that PJ was playing bad defense. Cat's just a huge and skilled
Yes, he's dude. A lot bigger than PJ.
Yeah, and I feel like they kind of drifted away from Cat, besides just like picking pops. And the Mavericks will love it if Cat just picked and popped this entire series, because they're totally cool with switching that or letting PJ get back and cover at the 3-point line. They're totally cool with that. The biggest times I thought PJ had trouble defensively was when Cat tried to take him inside the paint. And then of course there's Lively who made it tougher on rotations. And then another thing that I think they did it like 2 or 3 times, and I think they got lobs each time. The Cat Gobert pick and roll. I felt like that worked almost every single time.
Yes.
Weird. It's it's just
big to big pick and rolls are not things that other bigs are used to guarding.
Exactly. It's just it makes the defense uncomfortable because it's so unusual. And they just kind of went away from that, and they kind of just spammed some stale offense in the second half. Of course, the Mavericks defense helped force them into that. But that's also why I felt so confident coming into the series that I thought the Mavericks would win, was because this is kind of who the Wolves are, right? They were the 16th best offense in the regular season. They are going to go through stretches where you're watching them and you're like, what's going on here? Because they just don't have that much shooting. They just don't. I know they made 18 threes, but by the way, they ended up finishing the game 36% from three. So they shot pretty poorly from three in the second half. Like, in terms of bona fide shooters, they just don't have a ton. And McDaniels went 6 of 9, but Mike Conley went 1 of 6. So they
Naz Reid went 3 of 6, and that was a concern.
Yeah, that's a concern for sure. But if you flip Conley and McDaniels 3-point shooting, that would look more normal. And that's it's just.
Do you want to hear something crazy?
Hmm.
Anthony Edwards had 1 2-point make.
Yep.
1. And he apparently said in the post-game interview that they didn't know what to expect from the Mavericks defense, which is not something you should say out loud.
Dude, why don't people understand that the Mavericks have a good defense? I don't get it.
Because
it's not hard. You watch one game. Okay, you watch one game and you immediately see, okay, this is what they do. This is what they're good. This is why I don't understand. I don't understand it. Go ahead. I kind of cut you off.
Well, I mean, I've been a Mavericks fan for 25 years. Defense is not a word that's synonymous with Mavericks. It's just not. So it's a little bit.
But it's been 3 months, man.
It has been. But, with each point, the playoffs is where I think you're being obtuse if you're not following it. But if you're following the Mavericks the second half of the year, you could look at who they played and how they played them and say, you know what? Teams give up. It is what it is. The Mavericks played a lot of bad teams in the final fourth of the season, which I think is actually accurate. But it's goes back to what you said about, when they played teams that couldn't rely on the 3-point shot. That's what is kind of the tell here. There's just enough tape. These guys are defending well. They're the weak spots are PJ Washington getting into too many foul trouble. That's a weak spot. Luka Doncic becoming a bit of an airhead from time to time, but he's still enormous and strong. Anytime the Mavericks choose to play Tim Hardaway, but that's not a regular occurrence. So at the moment, there's just no weak link. I mean, Jackson Frank tweeted this out a few minutes ago. Right, it just left. The Mavericks built themselves into an elite defense these past 3 months, and it doesn't happen without total buy-in from Kyrie and Luka. And that's true. Yeah.
We got to talk about Luka's defense in the fourth quarter.
Let's do it.
He had 4 steals in the fourth quarter. He had that awesome steal where he broke up the lob to Gobert. That was kind of right in the middle of the lane, and probably jumped as high as he's jumped in quite some time. He extended, got it all the way. Oh, it looks like he had 2 steals in the fourth quarter. My bad, but still, that's pretty good.
He had a contest at the rim that was a little bit of something.
So. Yeah. I mean, it was 9-day difference between the first half and the second half. I'll just say that for sure. Clearly, either the coaches talked to him or he looked at. They can watch tape at halftime on the iPads, they showed him clips, or he looked at clips. It was pretty obvious he locked in the fourth quarter. So yeah, his defense was great. Yeah, that's the big thing. The buy-in has been ridiculous from those two, because even when Kyrie had basically no-showed the second half scoring wise, and after that awesome first half, he was pretty engaged defensively. He guarded Ant for a few possessions in the second half, maybe more than a few. He had multiple possessions over the course of the second half where he was guarding Ant and he was staying up on him and tight, not letting him get an easy shot. And yeah, maybe Ant should have put him in the post and did something to him, but Kyrie was playing him straight up pretty well, and Ant wasn't able to get through his shoulders. And I thought that was pretty impressive, because Kyrie is the one that has the history of being a little bit of a space cadet. And in these playoffs, it just hasn't been there. And the fact that he was struggling with his shot and still actively participating on the defensive side is kind of what's been the difference for this Mavericks team.
Well, and Ant was so tired by the end of that game. And like, just
Yes,
allow me
that.
a quick thought on this. If Luka Doncic looked like that, if he looked
Oh,
that after a game one, it would be the leading talking point from everybody bagging on the Mavericks. He just would be. Now, I have a great deal of appreciation for Ant. I think he's pretty fun. And I think he could still be tired, but they still got 2 days off. And Kyrie wore his ass out is my real takeaway.
That is something that I don't know what the Wolves count.
You don't. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do because Luka doesn't give a shit about McDaniels. Luka honestly could have had 40 points tonight if he just would have put his head down a little bit more. Ant guarded him on one drive that was on the left.
Ant had no chance against him.
He looks so small on Luka. That's the real takeaway that I had. Now, granted, his legs look like tree trunks. He's so thick, but Luka was too small to him. Basically, there's
kind of shocking. And is 6'4". I always forget that.
Yeah, which he's Kyrie.
He plays like he's 6'9".
Right, because he's got really big wingspan, really big shoulders, unbelievably athletic. Like he probably could be a defensive end in the NFL if they just would have put him through a weight program. Yeah. And I don't see what the Wolves do
because you don't want Conley chasing Kyrie around.
No, and Kyrie honestly embarrassed McDaniels repeatedly when they were caught in cross matches and transition. And I just McDaniels made second team All NBA defense. He is a good defender, but I don't see what he does in this regard to what the Mavericks do. Like maybe he had an okay defensive game. Luka still scored 33. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I thought he made life tougher on Luka a little bit in the first half. But yeah, Luka still got
Luka needed to buck up, though. There was an element of that where he was doing Luka's got to remember in these playoffs that the back hip thing is no longer a foul call. It's just not happening unless somebody tackles you from behind. So he keeps getting ahead of guys, and then he slows down, and I know he's looking for the lob, but I wish he would just take the 8 to 10 foot floater a few more times. There were times where
he's baiting for the foul too much.
Too much of that. And that's,
or he wants the lob. Like he loves the lob.
Mm-hmm.
He wants the lob. So he's waiting for it to open up. So there's that. But yeah, Anthony Edwards cannot chase Kyrie around for 40 minutes. And I think have the stamina to be an elite offensive player.
And he shot he was 5 of 12 from 3. You talked about him being 41% from 3, but then he was kind of the rest of the, what was he here? He was
1 of 4 inside the arc.
Jeez, that means he only took 4 2-point shots. Like that's talk
crazy.
About
that's the story, the attempts, not the makes.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. But yeah, why would he want to drive? Because you've got the Mavericks defense walling off the paint, and his legs are probably not there because he's chasing Kyrie around screens. Kyrie's off-ball game, it's pretty because there's so much talk about Steph Curry being like one of the greatest off-ball players like ever. And I feel like with Kyrie, not to say that Kyrie's better. I'm not trying to say that. But I feel like Kyrie
needs learned from him.
More, yeah, about how awesome of an off-ball player he is and how much it makes him work, because he's now played with two. I mean, he's played with more, but like he's now made the conference finals with two of the most ball dominant wings of all time, like LeBron and Luka. And those offenses have been incredible. And like we've seen superstars come together, and it takes a long time for them to figure it out because they're just not used to not having the ball the whole time. And credit to Kyrie, who for most of his career has been like, I could be the best offensive player on the planet. I could probably average the most points per game of anyone in the league if I really wanted to, if I wanted to get up my shots. And sometimes it drives Mavs fans a little crazy. I know it drives you crazy when he kind of floats and defers a little bit. Maybe he goes a little too much, and maybe let's not let Jaden Hardy run the offense all the time when you're on the floor. Like that makes you go a little nutty sometimes. But the plus is he's one of the best off-ball players I've ever seen for someone with the individual talent that he has to score in isolation. Like that's a real weapon. Like that's normally the great off-ball guys are guys that you're not worried about going one-on-one, like a Ray Allen, latter-day Ray Allen. Ray Allen was a pretty good player in his prime. But like even like you look at like what Klay Thompson's been doing lately, and like he's lost a little bit of that burst in one-on-one because of the injuries and all that stuff. But for a player to have that complete package of like, hey, I can I can dart baseline to baseline and try to juke you out and take a screen and curl and catch on the break and take a three and run off screens and brush you off and do all that. And then I can also just size you up from the 3-point line and take you off the dribble and break you down and score.
Mm-hmm.
Like not a lot of players in the NBA can do that. Let's just say it that way. It's not a skill set that's common. And
it's not. All right. I think we should close out and I'll let you go and get on to the next show. The last thing I want to talk about before we go is I'm already watching the Twitter discourse. There's two things. One, that over the confirmed basket interference by Cat. I don't know the rule. It didn't feel like basket interference to me.
Yeah, it didn't look like me either.
Yeah, but fuck it, we ball.
It was pretty competitive. Yeah. Like they didn't even watch it all. They were like, oh, yep.
Well, and then I'm seeing all these Minnesota gifs and people showing that Lively one from not Lively, the Gafford tip in off of a Kyrie miss, and it was like right at the rim. Do you remember it? It hit like the back of the rim, and it was. I didn't understand how it wasn't basket interference either, to be quite honest with you. But Gafford scored it. Do you remember? You really don't remember which one I'm talking about?
It was a Gafford putback.
Yeah, it was a Gafford putback. Let me pull it up here.
I can't remember that off the top.
I'll send it to you. I'll put it in. We'll take a look at it together. We'll this is what real podcasts do here. They actually we're not really good at analyzing film live, but I also am fine with doing this real quick just to go over it. Share screen. This is like how I'm presenting at work. You know, this is showing my Google. So is this, you see this here? You remember this one?
Oh, okay. That was in the first half.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's weird.
It is weird, and I don't, but also like kind of my in thought would be if you're already plus a gajillion on threes, also don't miss 7 free throws, and maybe have your superstar score more than 1 2-point shot. That's my takeaway.
Good takeaway.
Okay, Kirk and Josh, thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to hang out for our secondary Mavs party. You can join and come talk a little basketball with me, and then we will be back on Friday night. So everybody enjoy your week. Oh, you know what? We got 2 more people to shout out. Thanks for Knicks and Cowboy for their quick tips, along with Michael Scott as well. Really appreciate those things, guys. All right, hang out live here, and I will be listening on the audio stream. The Mavs party will get posted probably Thursday afternoon. Everyone be good, and we will be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mavs Party. I am Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyball.com. You are joining us for our secondary live show where I talk with you guys about anything that you would like to talk about following that rather fantastic 108-105 Dallas Mavericks victory. I already got somebody in the waiting room, one of my friends, a Mavs fan up in Minnesota, EJ, so I'm going to go to him pretty quick. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with this show, there is a StreamYard link in the comments to which you can click and join the show and talk basketball live with me really easy. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your computer. It's however you want to make it work. We'll talk a little ball and hang out till everybody has said their piece. All right, coming up first is my friend EJ. What's going on, man? You're muted.
Hey, I'm watching the first half because my wife missed it, and my goodness, Kyrie was ultra aggressive, and even like in the post game, and even like admitted just like being just flat out outran by a 32-year-old man. A guy 10 years as a senior is is Ant even 22?
Yeah, and you could tell the wheels. They just hadn't seen him do it, so they weren't prepared for it, and then they just never countered.
Yeah. So it's great to see just like Kyrie just set the tone, and yeah, we would have been down like 15 if it wasn't for Kyrie, because we like Washington and
So many missed 3-pointers.
PJ were just not hitting. Yeah, a lot of missed free throws, and then yeah, like I told you, man, Josh almost just threw the game for us, almost Pacers style.
It was really the full Josh experience because he did hit an incredible three. He did run the floor and catch the pass, but then he boofed the dunk. Then he had the turnover, where I think it was more his fault than Hardy's, where he just ran and kind of collapsed into the corner. Like that was really painful. Look, I appreciate, quite candidly, kids' willingness to go back to these guys despite their mistakes. They have to soak up minutes somewhere, and then you just sort of hope at some point somebody stops screwing up. Like Hardy, for as hard as I am on him, had 4 assists. He's not looking to take terrible shots. He did take one terrible shot. What are you going to do? So it is what it is.
We need more Exum and Hardy minutes, and less Tim and Josh minutes. But it's one of the like you and Josh had mentioned in the past, like Kid has this mental game going with Exum. I don't know what's going on.
I didn't think Exum did anything bad, but I will need to watch this game again just to sort of see it. I
think he had 1 turnover, but he was mostly good in soaking up minutes. Another physical body down there. I think, especially in the switch too, I think he could handle like guarding someone like Cat.
For sure. Well, I cannot get this is such a good comment that StreamYard will not let me take it off. Zap Manda says MJ only scored less than 20 in the playoffs once, and Ant has done it twice in a row now. Fantastic comment, and now I can't take it off because either my mouse is broken. Anyway, it's such a good one. All right, well, hey, are you going to get to go to one of the games? EJ's up in Minneapolis.
I'm trying to get a ticket, but
it's tough.
I also need to feed my children.
That's true. You have many children. Hey, man, thanks so much for kicking us off. All right.
Thank you so much. Happy birthday again, dude.
Oh yeah, appreciate it. EJ and I went to high school together, and I'm pretty sure he was my first friend in the town that I moved to in 1996. All right. Coming up for next is Simon. How you doing, Simon? Hit that unmute button. Maybe we'll give Simon a second here. All right, Simon, I'll come back to you in a few minutes. We'll try it again. Harold, you're up next. Harold, what's going on? I'm
feeling pretty good. How about you?
I am also feeling good. It's like a sense of relief. Very excited too, but just relieved that the Mavericks that they pulled through on their really first chance to win a game 1 in years.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. When the game was relatively close at halftime, I was thinking to myself, like, because normally these game 1s, we end up losing by like 15 or I don't know. We just looks like we don't even belong on the court. But the fact that it was close and we were grinding, and it reminded me a lot of the games with the Clippers and Oklahoma City. The fact that we just kept grinding. So it was good that we had that attitude in a game 1 where we were just going to grind it out. Luka not looking all that great for 3 quarters, and we were still so close. And their 3-pointers were just dropping like crazy. And it just shows me like that we are a really good team. We really are. And damn it, I said it a few months ago, we just needed a couple pieces here, it's one piece here. And here we are, and it is unbelievable the turnaround that we have had from a year ago. Think about where we were a year ago.
Well, and even, starting earlier in the playoffs, I mean, I think that if there's one model I'm pretty sure Kidd aims for, it's to be playing your best basketball late in the season, which is really hard to do given an 82-game season. Mavericks obviously made some trades. I think making trades is actually a pretty key part of the Mavericks identity always, just because you got to shake stuff up. The season is just too long. But not only that, the Mavericks, in my opinion, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, I don't think they played their best basketball yet.
No, I don't either. No, not at all. And that is really, really promising. It looks good. So, and I'm just hoping, I'm hoping Luka is not eating his cake and smoking his cigarettes for the next few weeks, and hope he loses a couple more pounds before the end of the playoffs. And imagine if we get Maxey back, maybe in a week and a half or so. I don't know, bro. I'm already having these dreams of looking ahead, and I'm allowed to say it, I guess. I'm looking ahead, man. Just thinking about the Celtics.
There.
Huh?
It's right there. How could you not? I mean, when we were in this position 2 years ago, the Warriors just pantsed the Mavericks, and it felt hopeless. Yeah. This is different.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you? I don't even know we should talk about the Celtics yet. So I don't think I will.
Not yet. Not
yet. I won't. I won't.
I will.
But it'll be.
Here's one interesting Celtics stat. In the playoffs, at least, they cannot guard the pick and roll to save their lives. So be thinking about that. So
that's nice. And we all know Jason Tatum is not a clutch player. So that's another thing. But yeah, I am looking ahead to like next year. I'm really looking forward to like getting a top 2 seed. Can we finally do that? With the players that we have. Huh?
Home court would be amazing.
Oh, that would be so great. So great. And last thing I want to say is about Jason Kidd, because I've been really hard on him.
Sure.
I still think he's an average coach. Okay. But I do think that he knows what he's doing with defense. I think at this point, if you give him the players that he wants, which is what you said, then we can have a very good defense. Go ahead.
My take is that he is a 16-game coach, not an 82-game coach.
I don't know. When I see him still playing Tim Hardaway Jr., and there was.
I feel like he's going with a roulette wheel with the guys, though, because he's trying to find someone that can consistently eat those minutes. Hardaway, Hardy, Green, Exum, none of the 4 of them are doing anything to stand out, but we have to eat some minutes up.
Yeah, but I mean, you've seen Hardaway do completely boneheaded things,
boneheaded stuff. Well, killing me. That spot is killing me. That spot of the rotation, I mean,
passing it to the other team. I've seen him do this enough time, passing to the team, and then he gets the ball back, throws bricks up. I know Exum hasn't done much, but I would still rather play Exum because he's at least a better ball handler than Tim Hardaway Jr. How many times is Tim Hardaway Jr. going to dribble the ball off his leg? And this is in key moments where we're up by 8, and then you're just handing the ball to the other team. We can't do that. We just can't do that.
I know. Well, I'm really glad they won, and I'm really glad you actually get to join us during a normal human hour, and we can all actually get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, I am just over the moon happy. My kids were just, watching me losing my mind. I'm 49 years old, and I'm just thinking like, dude, when I'm like 79, I'm not going to be able to handle this stuff. I'm probably going to have a heart attack. So
right.
I don't know. But anyway, go Mavs.
Have a good night, Harold. Thanks for joining us.
You too, Kirk. Bye-bye.
All right, later on. Let's see here. We're going to go back to Simon. Simon, you there this time?
Can you hear me now, Kirk?
There we are, looking good with that playoff beard.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to have my cam on because I'm in my kitchen. I have my phone up on the prop charger, and there's a bright light behind me, so I don't want to distract your.
Not a problem.
Okay. Obviously, great win. I mean, very, very enjoyable. I want to lead off just kind of making a comment about the state of the NBA in general in this way, right? I mean, this isn't the NBA that you grew up watching and that I grew up watching, or even the NBA the mid-aughts, right? When you had the Cavs and the Warriors in the finals 4 years in a row.
Sure.
Or when we grew up watching it in the 90s, where you knew the Chicago Bulls were going to be there every year, and then it was the Lakers, and then it was the Spurs, and you had like kind of like these teams that you knew were going to be there every single year. Since the can you still hear me?
Yes, yeah, you sound good.
Okay. All right. Since the Cavs and the Warriors met in the finals 4 years in a row, right, in the mid-aughts, not only has there not been a back-to-back champion, there hasn't even been a team that's made the finals in consecutive years. So my point is that the NBA in its current form is a year-to-year league. It's not like, oh, well, you can think look at Denver. Like Denver won the title last year, and then I think Kevin O'Connor dropped an article for The Ringer today where he kind of highlighted the disconnect between the coaching staff and the front office, and the front office thought, oh well, we'd rather kind of hold hold our ammo, and try to develop our young players versus like sign a couple of veterans to replace Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. He's like, well, we'd rather win 3 in the next 7 years than 1 this year. And I'm like,
that's arrogant. It's too arrogant because
it's just idiotic because now, I mean, look at Milwaukee, right? I mean, Milwaukee won a couple of years ago, right? Then they lost in the second round the next year. Now their future is looking very uncertain. They made a big move this offseason. It didn't pan out. I mean, obviously Giannis got hurt this year, but even before he got hurt, it wasn't looking great for them. So you just never know. My point is that I hate to say this, but the Mavericks this year, right, are in a position where they're up in the conference finals and they have an opportunity to win a championship this year. Mm-hmm. And they may never get a better opportunity. You just don't know because the NBA is just so unpredictable now on a year-to-year basis. Kyrie could get hurt next year. Luka could get hurt next year. Kyrie could get dissatisfied for whatever reason, and God forbid.
People get old. He's 32.
Exactly. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah.
They have an opportunity this year to win a championship, and God, I hope they take advantage of it. Whether they win or not, I just hope that, that they don't win for some stupid reason. Okay, that's back to the game tonight. I want to ask you this. So I was looking at some of the plus minus stats, throughout the playoffs, and one thing I noticed is that Daniel Gafford's on-off numbers are
pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I mean, I assume that he's gonna continue to start because I think Kid likes continuity in that way. But I mean, I think Lively did close the game tonight, but Gafford was, he played a good chunk in the fourth quarter. I mean, when do you see like Kid just eventually pull the plug on that and instead of like doing like the Gafford Lively tandem that they've been doing, where Lively becomes the heavy minutes guy and then Gafford is the guy who spells it. Like how much longer do you think that
certainly the remainder of this postseason that's the way it's going to be, because I don't think you want either guy to get too high or too low. Foul trouble can bite you like that. True. And you don't want to make one guy the primary only to have to go to some other guy as a secondary. And what they're doing is they're platooning their minutes where each guy's playing like 4 to 5 minute bursts, and each guy plays really, really hard. So, tonight, like the plus minus stats in particular, Gafford's a -15. I mean, hell, Luka ended up a -9.
I saw that. Yeah.
Because he was out there when they were getting shelled. And sometimes that just happens. I mean, Gafford is a much worse defender in space than Lively, and perimeter, so that's part of it. But I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it because one thing Gafford I think is still he's more explosive off the catch than Lively is. Lively still has these moments where he looks 16 years old and he doesn't know what to do with the catch. Whereas Gafford is like, I am dunking this basketball. That is the thing I'm going to do. And I think that has value.
Yeah. He definitely will get. I would say Gafford has better hands at this point and he has better strength.
Sure.
So like when he gets it, in a like in a position where he has to bring the ball down, he's more likely to score going all the way up. I actually think Lively is a better, makes better reads when they trap Luka high, and and then there's a catch at the at the top of the key or whatever.
Yeah.
Gafford seems to struggle in those situations. Lively, I mean, he had a couple blunders tonight. He had one where he kind of traveled. He lost his feet. But overall, he reads those situations well. He just sometimes looks like his hands just aren't as strong as Gafford's. But the thing is, like, when Gafford's not in that position, like dunking the ball, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we kind of talked about this earlier in the postseason, right? Where like between the two of them, they shot like 75, 80% from the field in the regular season, and now that's in the playoffs. That's like in the mid 50s, which is still good, but it's
right. It's very different.
It's very different. It makes the Mavericks offense look very different.
Tonight they were a combined 9 of 13.
And that was another thing. That's another thing I wanted to ask you about, because I kind of watched the game. I had a men's league game tonight, so I came, I got back from my game shower at 8, whatever, and I watched it. I was on delay, but I was kind of fast forwarding through the breaks and everything like that, and trying to get caught up. And then eventually there was some point in the game on the broadcast where they mentioned that, the Timberwolves had made 9 3-pointers, the Mavericks only made 2. And I think the Mavericks only made 6 for the entire game, but they were shooting like 70% on 2-pointers. I mean, do you think that's like Minnesota, like part of Minnesota's defensive strategy?
Yes.
They're
so worried about the Maverick corner 3 that the lobs were a result. I mean, it was pretty crazy how hard they were closing out shooters.
Yeah, I felt like that was just them really playing Rudy and drop coverage, which I think you have to play if you're playing with Rudy out there, and you have to live with the Luka, 15-footer or whatever. I want to get to Luka. I want to make one more point, and then I want to get to Luka. I mean, you kind of talked about this earlier. Like, there is no reason for any two of Green, Hardaway, and Hardy to be on the court at the same time. It's just not. I mean, I get it. I understand your point about Kidd. Like, he has to give those guys minutes because.
Like, you don't want to play Luka 44 minutes a game. That's the real thing. I mean, you look at those two guys' minutes tonight. Luka played 41. Kyrie played 40.
I know, but if you look at the rotation, right, it's the 5 starters and then Lively, and then the next 4 guys after that would be Exum, Hardaway, Hardy, and Green. Okay?
Yep.
Now, out of those 4, Exum is the one that I trust the most, even though his offense in the postseason has been pretty much non-existent. But, he's still the one I trust to, not get burnt defensively, right? I mean, between Hardy's size, Green's inability to navigate screens, and then Hardaway's propensity to just get lost. Exum's really the only one of those 4 that's not going to kill them defensively, and he's the most reliable ball handler.
He hasn't looked it though. That's where it's like, so Hardy actually played pretty dang good tonight.
Hardy did play good tonight. I got to give him that. Yeah,
and that's like 2 out of the last 3 games.
Yeah, so maybe he kind of starts eating into those Exum minutes. But I mean, playing him and Hardaway together is
him and Hardaway are the ones that freak me out. I mean, yeah. So he did.
I mean, those minutes.
Yeah. No, I understand.
All right, now to the Luka aspect of it. Last time I think I talked to you was after Game 4
of
the Thunder series, and I mean, obviously that was a horrendous game for Luka. I mean, he just was awful in every way. He didn't make shots. He turned the ball over. He pouted. It was just bad all around. Obviously, came back in Game 5, played much better. Stopped bitching. Same thing in Game 6. Very, still a lot of turnovers, but very efficient with the shooting. And then tonight, pretty so-so for 3 quarters, and then in the 4th quarter, he made those 3 baskets in succession, 2 mid-rangers and a 3, and that was a turning point, I think, both in the game and for Luka personally in terms of like his mentality. it just seemed like after that, his confidence in terms of like him being the player that he can be sort of started to come back. Like, I don't like, he still did that thing tonight a lot where he gets past the guy, but he jumps back in, or he gets to the rim and he's unsure. He doesn't explode to the rim. If you look like, Basketball Reference, like they have the stats of like the percentage of shots you take from whatever area of the court. Luka's second year in the league. I mean, you know this.
He's great at the rim.
He not only was he great finishing, but 26% of his shots were at the rim. This year in the regular season, it was 12%, and in the playoffs, it's 7%. So, I mean, his percentage when he does go there is still outstanding. The problem is he's just not getting enough. Timberwolves, I mean, obviously Anthony Edwards didn't play well tonight. They got a lot more than they can expect, I think, from McDaniels and Kyle Anderson, especially in the first half. I think Ant is gonna, I think he's gonna bounce back in game 2, and the Timberwolves are gonna make adjustments defensively. But I think for the Mavericks to, consistently puncture their defense, Luka's gonna have to get downhill consistently, which is gonna open up the threes, force rotations for the defense.
Sure. I don't mind the tendency. He wasn't taking the floater this game, and I wish he would.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's got to take the 5-footer when it's there. Yeah. And when it's going to be there because Gobert is going to drop because he doesn't want to give up the lob. I mean, Luka's he's just such a fucking good lob passer. I mean, he reads it so well. And a lot of times he tries to shoehorn it in there when it's not quite there, or maybe he can get it, but it's not really the right play. But that's, and you talked about this, right? And this is why we get so infuriated with the national media. We're like, oh, Luka wants to shoot, Luka wants his numbers, because his natural instinct is to pass, especially in that situation. But he's just got to be a little bit more decisive on that 5-footer. But dude, Mavericks, I mean, obviously, first game 1 they've won under Jason Kidd. They can win this series, and they should win this series. Yep. And like I said, go back to first thing I said, man. Like the NBA is a 1-year. It's a 1-year league now. It's kind of like the NFL in that way. You're playing for this year, and that's it. You're not thinking about the future. The Mavericks have all the pieces right now to go get it done. So I mean, obviously we're gonna watch every game, and we're gonna be along for the ride and cross our fingers and just and hope for the best, man. But tonight was that was a lot of fun.
Well, Simon, get to bed early so you don't gotta stay up all night while listening to my show. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, Kirk.
All right. Next man I'm gonna bring up is my friend Henry. But quick shout out and reminder, anybody that's watching on Twitter, if you want to join the show, you probably cannot see the join link. Just shoot me a DM. I check my DMs and my feed during the show. I can link this to you pretty quickly. It's pretty easy. We got 5 people waiting. It's about 11:30, so I still got plenty of time to talk. So Henry, welcome to the show. What's going on? Henry. Henry might not be able to hear us because I know he would be talking if he could hear us. All right. We'll come back to Henry in a second. Ben Jovi. Ben, what's going on? 2 callers in a row where nobody can hear me. This is a bad... Oh, you know what? He has 2 of them in here. Ben, what's going on? This is amazing. 3 people in a row who cannot hear me. Is it a me problem? Is it my internet? That's just the way... this is going right now. So, all right. So I'm going to kick all of y'all that aren't able to hear me, and you will need to rejoin the show if you are able to figure out your mic situation. Coming up next then is Sonic. Sonic, what's going on?
Hey, you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome.
Technical issues. Man, I'm just giddy, man. I was laughing my ass off the whole post-game show and listening to the crew. I just watching Luka take over that last quarter, it felt like he's back, and man, that felt so good.
I like that take. I'm thinking Luka's back. I like that.
I know. So I don't know. I knew you're real plugged in with like all the other media stuff. There was a really good like, I guess, hot take or theory on like why Luka's playing better since was it game 5 against the OKC. It was from 105.3 The Fan. They Mike Bassick posed this. He said like the big jump, I guess, in his like seeming just to be moving better, feeling better. He posited that it may have been the medical staff was timing when to give him something like a cortisol or cortisone shot because of the timing it takes and how much it takes the edge off of the pain and stuff. But you only take it like once every 6 months, otherwise you risk major damage to stuff. And it lasts for about a month. And so his idea was maybe they were waiting till basically they could get through the whole finals if they went that far to give him this treatment to basically give him the most pain management for what he's dealing with as possible. So
it's an interesting one. It's a bit of a risky one to comment on. Don't want to speak to my man, their sources. I've never
sure. No, this is and I'll say in his defense, like he was very explicit. Like this is just his
theory,
baseball. Right? No sources, no stuff. Just stuff that he had seen in his time in professional sports.
Right.
So
no, that's an interesting one to consider. And I will say, so he hurt his knee. Like when he hurt his knee, and I'm pretty sure of this. When he hurt his knee was game 3 when he was trying to draw a foul against Russell Westbrook, and he just slammed his knee into the fucking ground. Like really, really hard. And I don't know, like knee bruises, if you've ever had one, there's no real sensation quite like it because it just kind of hurts all the time. Whereas other bruises hurt to touch, and they're just moving stuff around. And there's got to be something to him just having time and I mean, it's just like 2-3 weeks later, he's, they're in a better spot for sure. I also think he was in his own head, absolutely talking too much to the refs. So let's just go ahead and for just to be devil's advocates, go ahead and assume that theory could be correct. I also think the other stuff plays a pretty big part too.
Oh, absolutely. It's a multifaceted thing. I mean, Luka definitely is. I think the couple times that we've talked, like my ongoing theory is that Luka's an adrenaline junkie, and so he always performs better when the adrenaline is really high. But it because he's basically riding this emotional edge whenever he's playing. It either feeds into the kind of the feedback loop he gets from that adrenaline, or it goes into kind of like a negative storm that's going on that he kind of loses control of, and it's just it's a double-edged sword. But it's amazing when it just you see him get in that zone, and it's amazing what he can do with it. But the only other take, I guess, so many good things about this game. I'm loving how Kyrie Irving is doing. To be honest with you, I didn't really know much about Kyrie Irving or follow him other than just knowing like he's one of those dudes like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Some of those guys around the league that are always like the big opponents whenever they come into town. But I'm just utterly impressed. And the more I've seen him over this, even like last year, I didn't I kind of wanted to just not assume anything. He just impressed me so much this year. And honestly, I don't know who said it. I heard it from somebody that they think he's the whole low performances from his last couple of series is he's probably moderating himself. Just kind of he knows how long this is going to take, and so he's holding back until he knows he has to put his foot on the gas and just go. And tonight was, I think, further kind of evidence of that. He knew he needed to do something, which was, man, it was cool watching him. Just some of the things he does is just amazing.
Oh yeah, nobody plays quite like that.
And having him on, honestly, I would love to see him in his career here in Dallas. I feel pretty strongly that all the stuff that I've learned since he's come to the Mavs, like, it really feels like it's just a big culture problem, and like this team, this kind of environment, like, is exactly what he needed just to, not feed into drama that probably still is going on in the background. But he has people, maybe people that it's all channeled through or channeled out, into
Right.
people around him instead of into the media, instead of making it a big thing. It's just they give him space to be him, and nobody else sees it. So,
Well, thank you so much for hanging out.
yeah, this is great, man. I'm just gushing. So, anyway, y'all have a great night. I can't wait. Hopefully, Mavs in, I'm going to say 6, just because I'm cautious. But I think y'all's take is probably, I'd love to see it Mavs in 5.
It's nice and bold, right? It's the best
Yes,
part.
it is. It really is.
Thanks
Good
so much
night.
for hanging out. Talk soon. I want to answer a quick question. So Rennie in the comments asked, can someone explain why Luka's knee is bleeding? And I don't actually know the answer, but my theory is he has a floor burn that is so bad. And if any of you have ever had like an old turf burn, like modern turf is a lot better than it used to be. But when I was in high school, they basically had like carpet over concrete. And if you ever, had skin like bad enough to where you got turf burn, it simply wouldn't heal. And floor burns are also really awful that way because it's not like a cut or something where like the blood clots. It's really extraordinarily, it's like uncomfortable is how I describe it. So, but it really does, like the wound opens up every game. And so, part of it is he wears those white underpants, like the, I don't know what you want to call them, like the athletic pants that are under it. And that's a big, that's just part of it. You sew it all the time, but man, it looks gross during games. Okay. I'm going to bring Henry back up. See if Henry can talk this time.
All right, can you hear me now?
Hey, there we go. What's up?
All right, what's going on, boss? Nothing much cooling, fam. I just want to say I've switched my hatred towards Josh Green. Fuck Josh Green. He literally made mistake after mistake after mistake. I'm like, Jesus. Bro, I swear to you, that last 3 with 1.8 seconds remaining, if they would have hit that, got the rebound, and put that ball up to game on that shit, I actually would have I would have took him out. I would have took him out myself.
It's incredible.
How?
Well, he's, to me, honestly, he's an idiot savant because he doesn't really know basketball still after all these years.
He's a 6'3" Dwight Powell. He's just running around doing.
But the things he does right. So this is not going to be a great matchup for him because the Wolves are a bigger team and I think they rebound the ball better. But you remember against the Thunder, he had some pretty amazing offensive rebounds. And so when he's doing the things he's capable of doing and helping out, he really looks useful. And he did hit a 3 tonight, but he blew that dunk and he did the other stuff. And it's like, my guy, can we just simmer down? And it's just not possible for him.
Like, just don't. What was it? Blown dunk, turnover on the fast break. He threw the ball. Which was his fault, not Jaden Hart. Yeah, it was his fault, not Jaden Hardy's. And then the foul on Mike Conley. So that's 3 just off the top of my head. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Hardy, when he comes in, he's proven, especially in the Thunder series, he can run the pick and roll effectively with Lively and Gafford.
A little point guard. I liked it.
You know what I mean? So when he starts to get cocky and feeling himself, it's like, all right, settle down. But as long as he does that, he's 10 times better than Exum and Hardy, especially Hardy. I've said it once. I've said it 10 times. Tim Hardaway and now Josh Green need to be on a first-class flight to Bangladesh. Like, I don't want to see them anymore. I need them sent off to the Middle East expeditiously. So that's number 1. Number 2, like I said in the tip, how's your first taste of Avatar Kyrie? How are you liking the last Airbender so far?
It was good. I was really pleased. We really have been. It's not an exaggeration to say that was the first time in the first half we've seen this in maybe since January when he was on that 5-game heater while Luka was out.
Oh, yeah, that was MVP mode for sure.
Yeah, like it's been a long time since we've seen him look decisive. And I loved his post-game interview with the guys where he's like, yeah, I stood up because Ant called me out. Like, I loved it.
It's about time because if Kobe was still here, God rest his soul, and he saw those 2 9-point games in OKC, he'd actually be disgusted. But now this game right here, he's back to being his protege, and he's a mini bean. So absolutely. Honestly, I thought Kai was too peaceful now to actually see that interview. I really had thought Kai would probably just been, let's stay poised, sage, make sure everyone's okay mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. I thought he was going to say his normal shit like that pisses me off.
But he also he did the peace offering at the end where he's like, but that's why everybody loves Ant, which is factually true. Like, everybody likes the guy that talks the shit.
I'm okay with that. But again, you play ball, fam. When you're in that gym, fam, it gets heated.
Sure.
He can't guard me. You fucking suck. Like, that's all I want from him.
Yeah.
And he just seemed like he had been past that too peaceful. So,
but did you see him get up? There was a play in the second half, right wing, top of the key, where he gets up and Ant's shorts, like underneath him on defense after he had scored on him. And I'm just like, this is playground stuff. This is my turn.
That's all I want.
Oh my God, it was great.
That's all I want. That's all I want. I don't know what's up with Gafford and that short roll at the nail right there at like the key kind of like free throw line, that short roll. Once he gets blitzed. I don't know why Gafford makes repeated dumb decision after dumb decision.
As a big man, I can answer this question.
Shoot for
it. It's too open. And you're like, oh no, I'm gonna fuck it up.
Because Lively makes so much better decisions out of that short roll. Obviously he's still, like you said, he's still 16. He still makes mistakes, but Lively's a much better playmaker out of that short roll. For some odd reason, Daniel Gafford just turns his brain off and just says me dunk, and he just literally he can't see anything else. I swear to God, he can't see to the left of him, to the right of him, nothing. All he sees is flight takeoff.
Yep.
Plus, how did you feel with us winning the game when they were plus 36? Obviously, we only made 6 threes. They made 18, so that's a 12 differential. So we won the game with them being plus 36. A lot of people feel like that. I feel like that was the story. I know Ant didn't play well.
That's a soul-snatching game. That's why I think the Mavericks are gentlemen sweeping this.
I agree. I actually agree.
That
would have been asinine before this series, but I agree.
Like you look at the slow-mo and you look at the Jaden McDaniels, I don't have it in front of me, but if
turned into fucking 16 Clay, ain't no goddamn way.
Well, his home road splits are incredible. So the fact that they lost at home with him, where his like last 3 games at home have been absolutely incandescent. And then they start out 0-1. Maybe they do win game 2, but then they go to Dallas, and he's not going. And if statistics hold, he's not going to shoot like that in Dallas.
Hell no. In slow-mo, I don't think he scored double digits the whole fucking playoffs so far. So that was an absolute anomaly. So you're not going to get that again. Even if you swept, let's say Ant has this normal game like 34, 36 points, but if they don't show up and they do their normal stats, they still lose this game. So I feel pretty good about it. I definitely thought Kleba missing. I want to see more PJ at the 5. Small ball, just trying to pull Rudy Gobert
now and then, sure.
Yeah, just to pull him away from it, make him unplayable, and as soon as they take him off, then swap back in and put Gafford and Lively and just play a chess match with Finch, and just see how that goes. I don't think I have any takeaways for what I want to see from game 2. What do you want to see for next game?
Luka and Kyrie shot 25% from the 3-point line. And so I want to see both of them continue to push, because if the Mavericks are going to wall off the paint like this, that was really how Kyrie did so much of his early damage, is cross matches. Like, he made Jaden McDaniels, an all NBA defensive player, look like a high school kid on roller skates.
Oh yeah.
And that's because of the cross match stuff. You just can't guard the Mavericks out in traffic. Now, do you remember it was the start of the third quarter? I think it might've been the dunk that gave them their first lead, where they get like either a steal or a rebound, and all 5 guys touch the ball with no dribbling.
It ended up with Derrick Jones on the yeah.
The Mavericks are capable of this kind of play, and Luka tends to slow it down just enough. I hope he continues to push, is what I would like to see. And past that, I really don't have any much to add. I mean, I think we're very close. You know, Luka and Kyrie combined for 63 points, and it was like a ho-hum 63 points, if we're honest. I still think these guys are capable of just blowing the Wolves off the floor. That's what
that was the basic like 3-0 basketball drill where you pass the ball and you run behind them, 3-man fast break where the ball doesn't touch the floor, you score together. Basic basketball drill. We've all known that from being a kid. What did you see from the Wolves aspect that you think that they can capitalize on from game 1 to win game 2? Or did you see anything or nothing maybe that the Wolves can do to try to win game 2?
I didn't see anything, but Josh Bose suggested that 4-5 pick and roll more often, and then
that was fucking annoying. Nas Reed scares me the most. Nas Reed actually scares me the most. He's a walking bucket.
Cat needs to post up a little bit more, I think, and try to get PJ in foul trouble. But the thing with Cat, and I said this in the preview show, is I just don't take him seriously.
Yeah. He's a cornball. Like, it's just certain guys. It's just like
he shrugged in the first quarter, like he's Michael Jordan. Like, fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's pretty lame. He's pretty lame. But the side note before I go out here, 41st, your Dirk year next year for your birthday. What you doing? The Mavs community trying to get an invite. You got to pull up. We got to have
Look,
a
man,
spot.
my wife put that together, and she said I don't get another party for 10 years. She said she's tired.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll start a GoFundMe or something like that. But your 41st Dirk for your Dirk year.
Well, now what
gotta
that
do something
did
for the Mavs community.
what that did sort of thing, and like I think I'm a little too, and Josh definitely wouldn't want to do this, but like I would probably want to do a watch party with Mavs fans at some point. Like it was fun watching a game with a bunch of friends. Like I've not done that in a long time just because I'm always doing this stuff.
Right.
And I was super drunk. That was pretty fun.
Good. So. Hey, I'm just saying, I can't remember the guy's name, the older Asian gentleman that comes on Dow, I think.
Yes.
Just the Mav community that you built. Hey, I'm willing to make the trip from Houston up to Frisco. We can meet at the Star District, just rent us out a spot and do something huge for the 41st or some shit. We got to do something for your Dirk year.
Dirk year. I love that people in Dallas know what the Dirk year is. It's just this nice. Hey man, thanks so much for joining as always and for the tips as well.
All right, man. See you on the next one.
Talk soon. Okay, I'm going to try to bring Ben Jovi up again. Looks like he's had some fun connection issues.
Hello.
Ben, can you hear me?
Hell, can you hear me?
We did it. Welcome to the show.
I'm sorry. I have bad earbuds. It's my fault. I buy the cheapies. You know what I mean?
You sound good though. So what are we thinking? What are we doing?
All right. Well, in the interim, since my connection problems, several people have brought up things I was gonna say. So
say them again. I don't care. That's the point. This is fun.
Well, the disparity in the threes. I mean, look, they make 6 threes. We make what? Or no, sorry. We made 6. They made 18. That's huge. 12 more threes for them. Plus 36. That's huge. And they lose. I mean, that's, like you said, soul sucking. And I think going back to what the last guy said, I don't know his name. Is it Hank? Team Captain Kyrie.
Henry. Yes.
Henry. Hank for short, right?
Sure.
He, the thing about Kyrie and not scoring in those other series, I don't know if you watched the post game. I don't usually watch the post games, but Kyrie, obviously, sometimes he talks for 15 minutes.
I did go watch him up with the TNT guys, but I wasn't able to see the presser because Josh and I hop on this.
Well, and I don't mean about this game, but after game, I think it was 5 of the Thunder series, he addressed it like point blank. He just said, hey, I know a lot of people are talking about they want me to score more. They want me to do more of this and that. He's like, look, when the time comes, I'm going to do that. He said it like matter-of-factly, like very point blank. And if anybody hadn't gone back and watched that, like go look at that post game. Like he's just like, look, I can do it. He made a point of like, I'm getting other guys involved. I'm trying to get Hardy and Exum and these guys to believe it. You know what I mean? That was his message, was like, I'm trying to get those guys to believe that in a long series, if we get to the finals, Hardaway might have to hit some threes. Hardy might need to, you know what I mean, to do these things. It's not like we can just assume that only our main guy, you know, we all know it's the role players that make the difference. Like you said, like I'm scared to shit of Naz Reid, but tonight he was 3 of 6 from 3 and they lost, you know. Jaden McDaniels went nuts and they lost. So I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty good about most of that. I don't really know what else to say, but besides that, because I think Kyrie's just going to have a different kind of series. I mean, tonight he looked really good. He was a little bit over 50% from the field. He was definitely looking for his shot early, and I just felt like that was, I don't know. We haven't ever won a game 1. You know, we can't overlook that.
That's right.
We haven't ever won a game 1.
Well, we won in 2021 against the Clippers.
Yeah, but I
know what you mean. It feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, I mean, just to grab hold of the series and to say, look, you know, and Ant is great. I expect him to still maybe have a 40-point game in this. You know, maybe.
He shoots the 3 with such, like, that one that he made from like
that
5
deep
feet
one
behind the arc. Oh my god,
that was insane. I mean,
Cat also had one. It's like, good God, guys, calm down.
I just feel like we know, you know, those OKC, they were barking. Those guys were barking afterwards, you know, or whatever, doing that barking stuff. There's not a dog on that team. SGA is great. There's not a dog on that team. Like, he's not a dog yet because he can't go outside of his game for a couple of games to win a series like he needed to do, right?
Yep.
I mean, the team's not there. That's all it is. It's not no shade. Like I like OKC, and I like the Timberwolves too. But guess after Ant, who's a dog on Minnesota?
It's great stuff.
Who is nobody. So we got two, and you know what? Couple times a series, it might be PJ, it might be Derrick Jones Jr. We know those guys have done it. So I feel good about it. Like I said, I haven't said it yet, but yeah, gentleman sweep, Mavs in 5. I thought the same thing. I'm not, this game 1 hasn't made me feel any different. Yeah, man, I think Cat. I love all the stuff you've been talking about. Cat, he's a goober. He just doesn't. He's not in the game.
And I know, like, I've sort of followed his career since high school. He's just a bit of a doofus.
He's so talented.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's been several years since he came out and said that thing about like I'm the best 7-foot shooter of all
God,
time.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Like Dirk needs to be on the sideline with a sign saying I'm the best big man shooter of all time.
Dirk just needs to go up with a box of Kleenexes when we fucking win this shit, So yeah, I don't hate him, but at the end of the day, Anthony Edwards is the only player that not the only player, but at the role they're at, you know what I mean? Cat is not a number 2 guy. He's like Porzingis. Like Porzingis wasn't the dude. He wasn't even number 2. He's okay. He's good as a 3, right? It's that kind of thing. Like, and it's between the ears. It's like you might have all the talent in the world, but do you have it between the ears? And Gobert's got all the talent in the world, but he can be frustrated. He can be, when he makes mistakes, he can't forget about it on the next play. And he's too old for that shit. These guys have been around.
That's right.
So,
my man,
that's all I got to say. And also, like, it's just weird that like a 22-year-old guy is like the mature leader of the team. You know what I mean? It's like,
I love him. He's got such exuberance. Like the stuff about everyone's comparing. Is he the next Kobe? Is he the next Jordan? It's like Jordan was a sociopath. Kobe, nobody liked him on his own team. Like, what are we doing? Like, everybody likes Cat. Like, the Cat is great.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Ant came out and just was like, forget the next Jordan stuff. That's really what for the last 25 years, the league's been looking for the next Jordan. They changed the rules to try to encourage the next Jordan. Sure. They let Dwayne Wade break the fucking record for free throws in the finals looking for the next Jordan. They've been doing this, and everybody's like, where's the defense? Where's the defense? Well, apparently it seems like the league is interested in allowing the defense to happen. So, hey, let's do it. And it seems to be working in our favor based on the trades and based on the kind of ball that kid likes to coach. And I think we're going to win it. I mean, Boston, I think whoever comes out of this series is beating Boston. That's all.
Love it.
All right, man. Y'all have a good night.
Talk soon. Okay, coming up next. Actually, no, I got a question from the crowd I'm going to ask. 87 Zach says, Kirk, can you briefly speak about the Mavericks now, Jason Kidd and his coaching growth versus our last conference finals against the Warriors? I mean, number one, the Mavericks have better players. Like Dwight Powell was our starting center with a lot of Maxi Kleber at 5. So that's going to really change the calculus. Number two, I think that I've said this all season, well, more or less since like March on. The Mavericks are now being allowed, like, they're not the only ones, but they're taking advantage of the rule change and they just play smash mouth defense. So that's been really quite something. I also think the more versatile lineup has allowed Kidd to try more things both on defense and on offense. So it's hard to ascertain growth when the Maverick, like, he seemed to squeeze blood from a stone in 2022. I mean, they got there and it was like, well, how are they going to get back? Here's the model: 2 good defenders and, rim running big. And they basically upgraded all of those positions to better rim running bigs, better defenders. And that's how we're here. So good question, Zach. Thank you so much. Mr. Green, how's your morning going?
Very well, mate. As you can expect, I'm locked in with my green headband on after a game 1 win.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mate, I have to say the couple of concerns that I have, I don't know if anyone else seen it. The first half body language from Gafford, that's got me worried. Seems to have his head down a fair bit. I thought Luka was going to tell Kidd once, if I'm on the floor, make sure Lively's with me and keep Gafford fucking nailed to the bench. He seems to put his head down a lot, especially when he hits the deck. He's not jumping up. He's looking away. Did you see when Luka was trying to get him to get a screen at the end of the half.
Yeah,
He
the
was-
first quarter. Yeah,
He's fucking looking at the bench, man.
yeah.
That's
That's what Luke was telling him about.
That's a wake up call, man. I'm really concerned in regards
Well,
to
I
him.
mean, look, he
being a
came out in the
15
second.
player.
He came out in the third quarter and scored 3 straight buckets.
Yeah,
So, you know,
the sort of buckets that he scored is all he should be doing. The short roll
Sure.
stuff, I reckon we just stop it. You know, just
and
go
maybe
the
put
Kyrie
PJ
Luka.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, PJ's just a much better decision maker and a lot more Arsenal. I mean, you know, dribbling it off his fucking leg on one bounce. At
I
the
hated
short
that
roll.
one. Yeah, that was bad.
That was rough, man. Really, really rough. But love the Hardy minutes tonight. I completely agree with what you said, Kirk. It really is the roulette wheel, mate. You know, Jason Kidd's just spinning it, going, look, I need 16 minutes out of these 4 guys. I'll give 1 8.5 if he shows me something, and they're not. So, but in saying that, game 1 on the road, it'll settle down. It'll settle down, especially now that they've got the win. I think the role guys will be a little bit more productive because we didn't see much out of Derek Jones Jr. tonight either. But defensively, fantastic. I can't believe, was the stat correct that Ant took 1 shot inside the 3-point line for the whole game?
No, he took he was 2 of 9 from 3. And so that would be he made 6 shots. So he was 4 of 11 inside the arc.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the paint then. But
Yeah,
they did
that I think is true. The paint shot, that rings true to me.
Yeah, because he got that hell of a block. I mean, I was sure that was a foul when he just got sandwiched between 3 people, and then it was off his leg on the challenge. So, yeah, I mean, defense, man. Defense is doing it for us, and looking forward to game 2. It's a unusual position to be up 1-0 after game 1, but I agree with you guys, man. You guys are saying a gentleman's sweep. I think you're being kind. You know, if this next one drops, I think we could see it out at home. What can they do, Kirk?
I don't know.
They've got no moves to go to.
Yeah. I hate to
And
be
if Kid finds one of our fringe players that can, you know, pitch in with 10 points, they're in a fucking world of trouble. Big world of trouble. So, man, it's looking good. This could be the year.
really, really crazy to say that, but I love it. I love it.
It's got that feeling about it, mate. It's got that smell about it.
Mr. Green, I hope you have an excellent I'm guessing Thursday. No, what day is it?
Yep.
Thursday. Okay. I don't know how
1
time
o'clock.
works.
1 o'clock Thursday, mate. Do you want tomorrow's lotto numbers?
Yes, from the future. That's fantastic. All right, man. Talk soon.
Thanks, Kirk.
Mhm.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Coming up last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend, Krishna. What's happening?
Kirk, how are you?
I am I'm doing okay. Yeah.
I'm doing good as well. You know, like I think it was Brian talked about it, one of those games where he said I didn't watch the game and I saw we were up and I didn't watch it again.
Is that what you did?
I have not watched a game since game 5 of OKC.
Dude, okay, that's okay. Okay. I understand that.
I
That's
was
fine.
like, you know what? I saw game 5 of OKC, we're up. I'm not gonna watch it.
Well, you're a Stars fan too, so you don't need a heart attack every day for the next 2
Kirk,
weeks.
I don't understand. I watched game 6 of the Stars game. What a horrible game to watch. They went to overtime. Then they scored in overtime, and then the dumbest thing happened where the refs ruled no
I
goal.
saw that.
And then basically, since they ruled no goal, apparently for some reason that means that your review system can't rule it a goal. So then they had to go, and luckily, you know, Duchesne then scored the winner, so they moved on. But it's whatever. But I don't know. Like I didn't watch this game. I was following it here and there, but like I get the frustrations for everyone, and I think the thing is you just need guys contributing at certain moments. And I feel like this has to be the first game where Kyrie and Luka both were just so dominant in a game. Obviously, this entire season they've been like this.
Right.
Well, I think it's easy to forget. It's not like these guys are like they go into a quarter and then they both just score 15 in a quarter.
Right.
It has been a little bit of your turn, my turn. And, it's easy to forget, but there's no two stars that play on a court and then they just go, oh, we're all good. We're both going to score 30 points in a quarter. Like
Right.
that just doesn't happen. It is about picking and choosing your spots. And I think all the criticism that happened last season, rightfully or wrongfully, they've figured that out this season. And I think part of it was, and you've talked about it a lot in the stream, Luka just hasn't looked good in this playoffs. Like, that's really simple to say. And he's clearly looked a lot better. Now, what's the reason? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on it, but you're happy to have it now in the most important time of the playoffs, on the biggest stage of the playoffs. And look, I think it's easy to bash on the role guys, and I do think the 3-point shooting has to be better, clearly, and some of the decision making has to be better. That's like easily true. But they really rescued you in that last series, man. Like, we could have easily been in a game 7 versus OKC if your role guys don't play as good as they did in those games. And so I'll give them a pass for one game, but this was a good win, a shocking win. I honestly was just ready for this team to lose game 1. Like,
I just looked through the play log, like the game logs. Kyrie's had good games. He's had some really good games. But a couple of them have come in Dallas losses. This other than, I would say, the Clippers game 6 win, this is the game where they have each scored a bunch of points and the Mavericks won. It's usually kind of one or the other. So it was nice. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't blame Kyrie as much, because I think Kyrie in the OKC series, that blitzing from OKC, like their length,
Bothered
OKC
him.
length
Yep.
is very different from Minnesota. I think Minnesota is obviously a better cohesive defensive team than OKC, which is a weird thing to say. But I think OKC's length in the backcourt is just really different than Minnesota's. Like, Ant is physical, but he doesn't have the same length as even like a J-Dub. And J-Dub playing your 2 is so different from Ant playing your 2. I think Ant is, like I said, a more physical player, but he's not as fast or not as long. And that's no shade at him. I think Ant is obviously a really great player. That's what we've seen this entire playoffs. He's just a different player. And so I think Kyrie took advantage of that, and Kyrie has been good against them this entire
really good. The whole season, really. Yeah.
I think my only concern is, and I think it's not that much of a concern, I think the positive thing, and the thing we've seen this entire playoffs, is these guys are locked in mentally. Like, they're not taking it lightly. And that's encouraging. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I do think it'll be interesting to see what Minnesota does in game 2. Are they going to try to blitz? Are they going to try to play up? Because they've played drop this entire playoffs.
They're going to continue to play drop.
If
you
they
have
do,
to, Rudy. You just have to.
It'll be tough. I think they'll adjust. I think Rudy will probably play better. Like, we saw Rudy really take away the Aaron Gordon Jokic lobs in that Denver series.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This feels a little bit different. Like, it feels like even if you take that lob, you might be giving away the threes in the corner, which is something that I don't know if Jokic is necessarily always doing that. I mean, I don't watch enough of Denver to say he is or isn't, so I won't say he doesn't, but that's a different wrinkle to the pick and roll with this Mavericks team. And so I'm excited. Like, it's always a chess match, right? Like, you go one step and they go one step. And so it'll be interesting. Few things, obviously, give credit to Hardy. He's improved a lot. I think one of the things that's kind of like kept him in the series over, unfortunately, XM is like fearlessness, which is something that I don't think we often like think about, but sometimes you do just have to like play with your head screwed loose. Like, you have to play with a reckless confidence, and
yes,
you're going to make mistakes, but like, the thing that I've always felt is positive about all the young guys on this Dallas team is they've all shown some signs of improvement. And to me, that's always been kind of critical. And Josh, frustrating, but I also think part of it is Josh should not be playing at the 3 and the 4 in this series. Like, he's a bad, like, he's a bad fit for that. And I don't know if they'll have to keep going with that if Tim is not looking as good, but we'll see. But the one thing it does help, I think 2 things that are really positive, is it helps, you keep Maxey out a little bit longer. I think if Maxey comes, it changes the dynamic more. You're even a little bit.
I mean, the first time he could theoretically be back based on the timetable that they initially set is game 4.
Yeah, it's this weekend. It's like
I don't want him to play unless he's healthy, because Maxey's confidence is like the key element of his game.
I agree. I think they said like 30 days, or they said like 3 weeks, which would be the 25th. So game 3, I think, would be the first time. So I agree. I don't even think they'll rush him out, right?
No.
it feels like one of those things where they'll be like, unless he really feels good about it, like he's like actually moving around and feeling good, I don't think they're going to do it. Especially like an AC joint. That's not good. That's not going to be comfortable. Like it's not going to be good. And the other thing, how good is Lively, man? Lively's so stupid good. He's so stupid good. I was talking about it with Logan Thompson on Twitter. Like the fact that in the preseason we were asking if Lively can set screens.
He couldn't. He couldn't set screens.
Literally couldn't. And like it's funny because those games were against Minnesota, and now we're just like,
that's right.
This guy can be like. The thing I give him credit for is obviously he's been good on defense, and I think people do a genuine disservice to comparing him to Gobert on offense. I think his touch and offensive feel is way better than Gobert at this point.
His hands are way better. Gobert dropped one in the pocket where Luka came around and stripped him from behind, but only because he didn't catch it cleanly. And like the Wolves had so many chances to win this game, and they just didn't. The Mavericks went and took it.
Yeah, and the other thing the biggest thing I think that separates Lively from so many guys, and I think separates really great players, is Lively's ability this entire season to analyze and learn from his mistakes and then apply it as soon as he can. He does it. We've seen him do it in games. You know, you've talked about the OKC 30-0 run game. He did that in game, and he's done that all season long. And to me, it's why I don't like necessarily say like, oh, he can't be this, he can't be that. Like, we're talking about a 20-year-old rookie doing this for the first time in this playoffs, and he's not just breaking Mavericks playoff rookie records. He's breaking like NBA playoff rookie records. And like you can say, oh yeah, he's in a good team, he's in a good situation, but like, don't we say that about all players? Like all good players are in good situations, and they have to be. Like LeBron and like Luka and these guys are exceptions, being really good players on bad teams. Most good players are good because they're in a good situation.
That's exactly right. That's why that's why the whole rush to crown Ant kind of drives me crazy, because it's just like he's playing with two all NBA defenders.
I agree, and I think he's really good. I still think he has a lot ways to go. Like it's easy to forget. Like we talk about the Shaq Kobe, duo and how dominant they were, but Kobe as a player in his rookie season and his first few seasons with Shaq was so different from the Kobe that people think about now in the Mamba mentality. Like players grow and they change, not just within 1 or 2 seasons, but 4 or 5 seasons. Like players are so different. Like people won't think it now, but LeBron came into the league and people thought he was the worst shooter like ever.
He was, and he was.
Not like that Detroit 3 that he made for that game winner. That was a miracle because LeBron just doesn't shoot threes. Like that's the thing. If great players like that improve, it's going to be like normal. And I don't know. I'm just happy. I'm excited for game 2. We'll see how it goes. I also found it very funny. We're 5-0 against Minnesota in the playoffs somehow. That's the whole time. That's really, really funny to me. But excited for game 2 and hope everyone has a great night.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Y'all know the drill. Go to MavsMoneyball.com. Read the various articles we have up. There's 3 things we'll have tonight. I think Josh said he's going to try to write something tomorrow. We'll probably have more out there. Luka Doncic was named to his 5th straight All-NBA team, and we didn't even talk about that. So, that's just how casual. 5 straight All-NBA teams, which some of the data on that is really outrageous. Let me see. I see if I have anything quoted from the game, because there were some stats in that game that are with relation to the 5 that just blew my mind. Seems I didn't actually retweet this. That is what it is. All right, guys. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for spending time with me and Mavs Moneyball. At Pod Maverick. We will be back on Friday, probably the exact same time, because these games all start at the same time. Everyone be good. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and go Mavs.